As registrar of Jamb, I hold myself personally responsible including for the negligence of the service provider and I unreservedly apologize for it. And the trauma it has affected Nigerians to, directly or indirectly. We have decided that all the candidates affected in the 157 centers of the 882 be contacted to retake their examinations. These candidates are to be contacted through text messages addressed to their registered phone number from tomorrow, their email addresses, their profiles, and phone calls by Jamb. They are directed to reprint their examination slips for the rescheduled examination dates.
Just leave it to you to tell me what exactly you saw whilst watching that video. What has been one of the most controversial academic season in recent times, the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, Jamb, recorded an alarming high rate of failure in its 2025 UTME. And the results sparked widespread concerns among students, parents, educators, and stakeholders across the country. As we discuss this national issue, we're joined by Taiwo Ogunronbi, founder of Solution Compact Educational Hub, a seasoned educator and a passionate advocate for academic excellence, a graduate of accounting from the University of Lagos. Taiwo has built a solid reputation for helping students navigate academic challenges and succeed against the odds. Good morning, Taiwo.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Taiwo. I'm so happy to have you join us again. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, very well. I can hear you.
Amazing. Did you watch the video? I mean, the one we just played now, you know, where the registrar came out to make a public apology and take responsibility. What was your initial reaction, you know, to Jamb's announcement about the mass failure? And again, this recent video that we're watching. How did you feel?
Okay, so thank you very much. I think that was, first of all, very necessary for Jambites and even educators, as well as institutions who are curious to know what exactly has happened. So I think, first of all, that's needed for Jamb to come out to explain what must have gone wrong. Aside from the fact that the Minister of Education, Mr. Tunja had said that Jamb had implemented successful anti-cheating systems, which reduced a lot of cheating opportunities during the exams, and that caused mass failure. So I feel like that's very necessary. So in terms of failing, that's necessary for the Jamb to come out to let us know what exactly went on.
All right, thank you so much. So before I allow God's Beauty ask, I'd like to just chip this in. From your experience as an educator, what do you think are the root causes of this year's poor performance? I'm still trying to talk about the whole poor performance thing because we cannot take away that fact that there was still poor performance, right, in the examination. So I wanted to have you as a guest here because you're one that train students in, you know, examination process, most especially probably Jamb and everything. So from your experience so far, what do you think are the root causes of, you know, some of the poor performances that we've had so far?
Looking over the years and looking at our structural systems, I also have a belief that we are not there yet in terms of our structural systems. What do I mean? The requirement for Jamb is WAEC, right? WAEC, GC, NEPO, whatever, to be able to sit for Jamb. But you're surprised, most of all these cheating and most of all these inefficiencies start from there. You know, so I also want to agree that a lot of students are not prepared to sit for Jamb. Most of the times, students show I don't care attitude to Jamb. They just believe, okay, I just want to score 200. There are only very few students who show seriousness to really ace the Jamb, to say, okay, I want to score 300. When last did we hear people in your communities, like 10 of them scored above 300? You'll see that some score 180, some score 200, some score 220, and they feel that they are doing well. So in terms of the appetite of the student to want to do more, that's still not there, you know? So that's one critical area, critical reason why we have this mass failure. Secondly is that, just like I said, WAEC and Jamb, WAEC and GC, NECO, all of these issues start from there. Students who don't do well in mathematics, students who don't do well in WAEC, you know, who rely on cheating, who rely on numerical centers to pass. Those students are the ones sitting for Jamb, and you don't expect them to also pass Jamb well. I'm not saying that some students are not prepared. Generally, students are prepared, but in terms of, if you look at the overall preparation of students, I think that that's a major root cause for this maths failure.
All right, thank you so much, Taiwo. So, given the video we all watched together, right, we heard the registrar say that, you know, the examination will be commencing on the 16th, and I think that's tomorrow, down to the 18th, I think till on Sunday, right? So, given the short notice, do you think Jamb itself, as a body, do you think they are ready for this examination? Same as the students. I mean, given the whole, when we heard of the mass failure and all of that, every time everybody's attributing it to the technical glitch and all of that, something around my computer, they ask us to imagine, they're always telling us to imagine things. Do you understand? So let's talk about if they are even prepared for it. I mean, from your own standpoint, do you think they are prepared for it? And if they are not, what measures do you think should be put in place? And I'm talking about both for the Jamb and both for the students that are writing it.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So I want to put it in perspective, right? So let's say you sit for an examination and the examination did not hold, and they asked you to come to receive the examination 2 days after. Wouldn't you be glad to want to do the examination? You know, so I feel that students, a lot of people who are trying to hide under the technicalities that Jamb has come to acknowledge, are these people who are also admitting to the fact that they are not, initially they were not prepared for the exam. Because I believe that if you are prepared for the exam, if Jamb asks you to come and do the exam, you'll be glad to want to prove a point to say, yes, this is my opportunity to receive the exam. Also, just about 379,000, about 380,000 students had issues, basically in Lagos and about 5 Southeast states. Out of the about 1.9 million, 1.7 million people that registered for the Jamb. That's to let you know that they're actually not very significant to the overall population. But that being said, we cannot then write off their own potentials, opportunities because more than 1.5 people did not score above 200. So for Jamb, I also believe that the same systems that they have that accommodated these 1.9 million people that registered, they have the system, they have the ability, they have the resources to host the taking of the examination. Yes, that might cost them more, but it's needed for them to also
clear their conscience.
Yes, yeah. So for the students, I think that if they are prepared initially, it's a golden opportunity for them to go and see the exams.
Actually, you're so right, Taiwo. I'm just thinking about this whole thing. And in my mind, I'm hoping that we do not have a redo of failure in that sense, because it's going to really cause another form of controversy. Because honestly, some people came out online to say, oh, when this particular news of mass failure came out, people were blaming the students more. Some were saying students just like watching TikTok and all, that maybe they can see now, in quotes, that it was actually Jamb that had the fault. But given these statistics, it's actually just a sizable number that is going for a retake. But let's even talk about Jamb, because they are currently the ones on the hot seat at this point. So do you think Jamb accepting responsibility and offering a retake is enough, or should there be deeper reforms? Because just watching that video and hearing someone, I'm just imagining if there was actually no redo, or maybe the registrar didn't come out to actually take responsibility.
Yeah.
Some people will have to write this examination again. So yeah, it seems commendable in that sense that they came out to take a responsibility. But is that enough, or should there be deeper reforms from henceforth?
Yeah, so listening to the Jamb registrar of Oloyede, I think, Ishak Oloyede, and also reading about extensively some of the things that they've implemented for this year's Jamb, you are going to see that this year's Jamb, they really did a lot of system upgrade and a lot of structural things. So I also want to excuse them, because if you use a system and you are trying to upgrade your system to a new level, there would be some technical issues, right? I'm not Jamb PRO, right? And I'm not advocating for Jamb. I'm only saying that there are possibilities that those occurrences might occur. So in terms of reforms, I think Jamb is doing well because they are trying to, just like the Minister of Education said, they are trying to implement a lot of anti-cheating systems, and that really works according to them this year. And I feel that being that this is their first time implementing and doing a lot of upgrades, it's possible that they have that kind of issues. So in terms of reforms, I think that they are on the right track. Being that this is the first time, I think that subsequent reforms that they are going to be doing, they won't have this kind of situation, because I believe they must have studied, they must have done all the necessary things. Now, talking about the necessary things, you would realize that Jamb also has a quality assurance team, which includes a lot of organizations, a lot of institutions, including CPAN, which is Computers Professionals Something Association of Nigeria. It also includes vice chancellors in schools. It also includes a lot of teams that they put together on a yearly basis to ensure that quality assurance of what Jamb is dishing out is effective. And so those institutions also met this time around to review their policies and their systems. That's to let you know that they did everything possible not to ensure that they have this kind of issues. But I mean, we are humans, and I like the fact that you also alluded to the fact that they are humans, and if they are humans, things like this can happen. Now, going by, is this the best thing they can do? Just like you said, if you do the maths, they have less than 20% of the entire population. But can we write off 20%? No, 20% is also significant. If you do statistics, or if you are doing statistical analysis, 20% is a lot in terms of looking at the sample size and all. Yeah, so I think that considering the urgency, Jamb has also come out to say, usually they do review of their performance 1 month after the results. So normally they should have done the review in June. But because of all these outcries and public complaints, they had to go back to do the review early. So it was at the point of review they discovered this technical glitch. So I think that considering the time, and the situation that warranted this review, I think that this is the best thing they could come up with. Subsequently, they might, if they have enough time, they might look at other possible alternatives. But in my opinion, I think this is a very good alternative to solving the issues.
Thank you so much. I like how you ended on that, because that's a question I wanted to ask you, right? When I was checking on the story and all, I saw so many comments and all. I remember somebody saying, instead of them having to say, let them retake this thing and wasting money and all of that. I mean, to some people, it's like, oh, wasting of money and all of that. They would have just increased their grades. Because again, I think that's also one of the problems that we have here in Nigeria. Honestly, it's not me, that's what I saw now. It's what I saw. But you get the point. So let's talk about the lessons that we have to learn from this, because I still feel like it's one thing for us to say, oh, let's retake this. I mean, for it not to happen again, right? Let's talk about the lessons that needs to be learned on this one, so that from next year we see something better and we don't start talking about massive failure and start looking for who to blame.
So thank you for that. So I'm going to categorize my answer into different phases. One is to Jamb. What are the lessons for Jamb? What are the lessons for the students? What are the lessons for the educators? And what are the lessons for also institutions and parents? First of all, starting with parents, because I believe that family is the first point of socialization, right? So parents need to do more on preparing their students for examinations. Fine, you won't be their teachers, but you know, the attitude they also give to them in terms of, you need to sit up for your examination. It's not there most of the times. And you realize that, oh, once a student starts attending a tutorial center, then the parents just relax and say, okay, yes, that's preparing for Jamb. That's not the way to go. You know, so parents need to sit up in terms of motivating their students. Unfortunately, they are not doing that. But students that failed woefully, you now see them hammering on them to say, oh, you did not do well. I mean, what was your contribution initially to ensure that they prepared well for this examination? So that's, first of all, the take home for our parents and for guardians. Secondly, for students themselves, you know, just like you said, a lot of people were advocating for, oh, why not just increase their score to 200? The mentality that I just want to score 200 is there. The mediocre spirit is there for all Jambites. I just want to score 200. I just want to score 200. And that's why I said, how many students aim to score 300 upwards?
Right.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
How many? You can barely find them. You know, this same year that they are saying there's mass failure, a student broke record of 374, you know, of the highest score in Jamb, 374. You know, this same year that some students are saying there's mass failure. So students need to come out of their shell to say this examination is not just a, you know, I also read about selection test and what's the other test? And I think it's about performance test. The problem is that, and I think that that's also one of the reforms, you know, the problem is that Jamb takes more than 70% criteria for gaining admission into schools. And that's why students focus on getting 200 in Jamb. I just want to pass Jamb. But I believe that if there are other critical areas that are requirements for getting admissions into schools, I believe that students would sit up on all other areas and not only Jamb. Okay, so that's for students. For Jamb, I want to commend Jamb. Honestly, Jamb has been trying. If you look at the Ministry of Jamb, there was a time they were doing PPT, paper-based tests. I did that at some point to CBT, before now that they are trying to implement a very tough, a very tight IT policies and controls. So I think Jamb can also do better. Bearing in mind the concerns they have in this year's Jamb, they can review and come up with a tighter policy to address that issues. For educators like me and for institutions, I think that our focus should go beyond, oh, I just want to get students enrolled, I just want to, you know, teach, I just want to make money. Our focus now should be based on, I want to ensure that I have 10 students that I'm going to school, tutor this year, and I'm going to sit them into the universities. I personally have had that track record. I have a lot of students in the University of Lagos, whom were my students. I have students that scaled 280 Jamb, 290 in Jamb, 300 in Jamb, more than that, and they got admission on merit in the University of Lagos. I think that this should be our priority and focus. Let me also use this to say that our organization, Solution Compact Educational Hub, is also looking at doing an educational outreach. Just like I said, the root cause of all of these problems starts from Jamb, from WAEC and GCA. Students who don't do well in WAEC want to pass Jamb. They say they want to have 200 in Jamb. Students who relied on Miracle Center says they want to pass Jamb. That is going to be unrealistic.
True.
That's going to be unrealistic. So we are doing, we are starting an educational outreach for GC students, which is going to be 4 months, starting from August, September, October. No, starting from July, August, September, October. 4 months, and it's going to be daily tutorial, and it's going to be online to get a lot of students at a very ridiculous amount. Our focus is not the money. We want to ensure that a lot of students who do Jamb, who do WAEC, who do NECO, who do GC, pass well, and they really know what they are doing. And so that by the time they sit for Jamb, they are going to exit easily. If you look at the Jamb syllabus, I mean, Jamb syllabus and WAEC syllabus, WAEC is even more detailed, than Jamb. Surprisingly, you now wonder how a student has a 1 in mathematics, and in Jamb is only having 50. That's not possible. It tells you that something is wrong structurally, and that's what educators must seek to resolve.
This is so commendable, Taiwo, and I'm really impressed with the good work you're doing. But honestly, I know you've mentioned, we're supposed to go on a break now, but you mentioned something about if students don't do well in their SSC examinations like WAEC, NECO, and GCE, how would they do well in Jamb? And somebody commented and said, why do we even have this so much examinations to get into the university? So I want you to hold that question. We're going to go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll explore the possibilities of one examination structure to get into the university and other questions. So please stay with us. We'll be right back shortly.